see myself as a Bauer guy. I've always seen myself as a Bauer guy from the age of 4 or 5 years old, 6 years old. When my mom pulls out all the pictures from when I was a kid, there I am, I'm wearing a pair of Bauer Black Panther skates. So, I didn't even know it at the time, of course, but I've been attached to Bauer since I was born, pretty much. There was Bauer in our house because my older brother had Bauer skates and stuff. So Bauer's been in my family since the day I was born. Yeah, being an activist, really, I look at myself more as an active investor. An activist, to me, when someone says you're an activist, it's typically people that object to us, everything. That they're just a big objection to something, and it's not specific. They just think that what this person represents or what this company represents is evil, and they object to everything. I don't object to everything. I'm an active investor in that I love the company, love the people, love the product. But I'm active in that when I see something wrong, I'm not afraid to stand up and talk about it. Well, whenever you stand up and say something about anything, if you are in a house with 4 kids, like I grew up with 3 siblings, and there's one remote control, and you decide that you want to watch something else, there's going to be 3 other people in the room that are going to, hail you down and cause a little bit of problem. So there's always that tension in any room, whether you're fighting over a remote or you're fighting over a board. There's different points of view, and you better be prepared to make your case. And there's always roadblocks, and sometimes it's people's egos, and sometimes it's people's, purposeful destruction of situations, and sometimes it's just third parties that get in the way. But you have to be prepared for hurdles and roadblocks, because they're there. And there's never been a situation in my entire life where I've opposed something or went after something that there wasn't hurdles or roadblocks. I'm always trying to figure out early on, what are they going to be? Because they're going to be there. In this case, the big hurdles was a board of directors that to me, they just closed their eyes to what was going on. And they were just defiant in their objection to listening to an opposing point of view. And I always made the case that my point of view was better than the average person, because I had been engulfed in this company for so many years as the former chairman. And not only that, but I'm out in the industry. In addition to being out in the industry, I also have an investment. I'm the majority owner of a retail hockey business, and we actually are clients of Performance Sports Group. So I could speak intelligently about what retailers were feeling, because I'm a retailer myself. So the problem with this board and the hurdles were that they just weren't interested in listening at all. This was a roadblock that I did not anticipate happening. I hired Grant Thornton to do a survey and produce a report that I could take to the board to make my case. Grant Thornton was independent in that they didn't work for Performance Sports Group. There was no conflict with Performance Sports Group, and they took the assignment and they completed the task. The problem arose when the Performance Sports Group, their lawyer, sent a letter to Grant Thornton, and then it was followed up by an email from the chairman of the board of Performance Sports Group to Phil Noble, the CEO of Grant Thornton, and they're both, the letter and his email, were trying to convince Grant Thornton to not turn over the report to me, to withhold the report from me, which was a collection of information and data provided by the retailers. So here I was, as a shareholder, largest individual shareholder at the time, and private citizen with no information on the board. I was off the board for more than a year, almost 2 years I think it was at the time. So they stepped out and blocked Grant Thornton from giving me the report that I paid for. And I felt that that was a roadblock that I never even heard of, but that they did it, looking back now with 20/20 vision, I understand why they wanted to do it. They did not want me to get this information from retailers and what was really going on at the company. It was a high tension, high emotional moment for everybody walking in. There was a lot of handshakes and a lot of friendly statements going into the boardroom. And you got to remember, I served with most of those people for a very long period of time. And so there were relationships there. And I have a lot of respect for some of the people on the board, more than others. So it started off very cordial, very friendly, but you could certainly tell they didn't want to be there. And you could certainly tell I wanted to be there. So it was a very, very emotional packed meeting. I tried to be very professional and very pointed in my questions. But clearly they were thrilled that I didn't have my Grant Thornton survey report in front of me. And that was the first thing that the chairman, Bernie McDonald, had brought up, that, he sort of gloated that I didn't have my survey. And that's okay. He enjoyed that moment. I don't know if he's enjoying any moments since then, but he's enjoyed that moment. And it was a very difficult meeting, because there was really no ability to have them move off of their position. They were there to be able to say to others that, yes, we met with Graeme face to face, but at the end of the day, there was no moving these people off of their position. In January of 2016, I'd had enough of the constant communication from retailers and how upset they were, and the company and what they were doing and the announcements that they were coming out with. And I'd had enough, and I said, that's it. So I wrote a letter to the board and did a press release saying the CEO has to be terminated. He has to go. And within weeks, he was gone. And so, it was just, I don't want to say it was the last straw, but it was to the point where it was embarrassing. The stock had not cratered completely, but it was way down. The retailers were very upset. They'd opened 2 of these retail stores, flagship stores, and it wasn't getting better. They were going in the wrong direction. And I don't like to call for people to be terminated or fired. I don't like firing people. Nobody gets joy out of firing people. Everybody has families and everybody has mortgage payments. But this guy had, just outserved his welcome, and it was time for him to go. And he resigned a few weeks afterwards. I believe that had I gotten back on the board when I asked to be back on the board in 2015, that I could have turned around the relationships with the retailers. I could have convinced the board, the other 8 members of the board, that the retail store strategy was a failure, complete and utter failure. And I could have explained to each director, if I had to take them out one by one to dinner or lunch and sit down and say, listen, I'm a retailer. I buy product from Bauer and then I sell it on my shelves. And if Bauer has a retail store, I'm going to buy less Bauer and I'm going to buy more CCM and more Warrior and more Vaughan and more Sherwood. That's what I'm going to do, because I don't want to support you in competing with me. And if I would have gotten the ability, the chance to sit down with each director, I feel confident that I could have convinced them one by one that this was a bad idea, which would have then killed the retail strategy. Then I would have gone back to the retailers and said, oops, it was a mistake. It's never going to happen. Please don't take your business away from us. Please keep your business here. I'm back in charge. Let's go back to the way it's been for the past 88 years. You know me. I'm one of you. I'm a retailer as well. And I believe we could have cut this thing off right back in the summer of 2015, and we would have been just doing very well right now. Well, my plans are to express to the court and to the public and to the media and to the government authorities that regulate this situation, that having anyone having a finger in the pie of CCM and a finger in the pie of Bauer is not good for consumers, it's not good for the industry, it's not good for Hockey Canada or USA Hockey, it's not good for anyone other than Power Corporation. The only beneficiary of having Sagard Capital at the table is Power Corporation. There is no case that consumers will do better because Sagard Capital is involved in Bauer and CCM. Nobody can make that argument. And it's up to me to make that argument and make that case. So what I'm going to try to do is get Sagard to withdraw their bid, to walk away, and not be part of this whole process. And then let it be put up for auction to interested parties that are independent, that don't have insider information like Sagard does, because Sagard was on the board of PSG in 2016. So they have insider information. They're insiders. According to the Ontario Securities Commissions, they're insiders, and they have inside information. Get them out of the picture. Start a process where anyone, any group that wants to bid on this, all comes to the table with the same amount of information provided to them, and let the best bidder win. which goes back to how I won the process in 2007, 2008. Nike decided to sell Bauer. They started a process. They invited many independent groups, including me, to come and bid on it. And I bid on it like dozens of other companies, and I won it. That's the way processes should be run. It should be open to the public or open to everybody, and the best group wins. Not the insider group that wins, that has a connection to CCM, that has the Bauer playbooks and confidential information from 2016, not the insider. And the only reason that Sagard Capital is there today is because this board of directors decided to work exclusively with them. This is the same board that decided to go and open retail stores. This is the same board that has taken the value of this company from over $1 billion of market cap down to zero in 1 year. This is the same board that decided that I wasn't qualified to serve on the board, but yet somebody related to CCM was qualified. So I don't think this board has made too many good decisions in the last year or two, and it's time that they step aside.